Okay, so we're back. Diamond K and
Reefa
in the building. Radio on Fire.
Usual.
Radio on Fire
.com.
News Network. Home. RadioonFire.com, of course. I do want to say this, that Radio on Fire broadcasts reach over 276,000 people per month. Advertise your product, service, or event on Radio on Fire by sponsoring an episode of any of our shows. You can do that for as low as $50. Visit RadioonFire.com/promo to get started with that. So we're going to talk about a serious subject, sexual assault, rape.
Yes.
Rape is an ugly word. It is an ugly word.
Ugly, broad word.
Ugly, broad word.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I say ugly, broad because it has now been taken and been used so loosely that it's kind of hard to believe nowadays because people use it all the time.
Okay.
So much so that more people who have actually been sexually assaulted do not report it because they feel people won't believe them.
So you feel that people misuse the word to define what they went through?
Yes. Not everybody.
Yeah. So you think it's done a lot?
It is.
Is it done in malice? Like, are they purposely doing it, or do you think that they just don't know the definition, or they're just lying on a guy? Like, which one are you saying?
That goes depending on the person who's calling the foul in the first place. Let's be clear. I do not mean those who have gone through it for real. Really, really gone through it traumatically. It has affected their lives in so many different ways. It is, a very terrible thing. I'm talking about those who, for example, mystical, whether that was rape or not, that was called on him, and it would be easily for someone.
Which one? The one that he went to jail for and did time, or you're talking about?
I'm not going to speak on the one that he went and did time. When I'm going to speak on the current one. Whether
because the last one, right? We're going to assume that he did that,
right? Because he was convicted in the court of law. You have to only go by reasonable doubt to presume your innocence or not. But if they find evidence that more likely says that you did it, then you can be convicted of it. So I'm not going to speak on that. But because of his status, whether you think he's an A-list or C-list or D-list or whatever, because of his status, it could be very well easy for someone to call rape on him versus someone to call rape on Bobby that lives across the street.
But I think that happens too. I think that people sometimes use that word because they're angry.
Yes. And they want something. They see it come up.
But at the same time, there are people who are actually assaulted.
Yes.
So it's just like anything. People lie all the time.
But it's just such a touchy thing, and it's such a sexual assault is one of those things that, yes, it can be proven someone sexually assaulted someone.
It can definitely be proven.
But then it also can't be proven.
Or it's difficult to prove.
It's difficult to prove.
Yeah.
And so that's for that reason, I think that it's now time to just maybe go back over those laws and go back over those definitions that is etched in stone. Because I think if you change maybe the meaning and what goes under that meaning, you can kind of stop the more fake incidents and allow others to be.
You mean from a legal perspective, the definition?
Yes. Because I can say you raped me, but in my story is how you can tell whether or not this is a consensual thing, or me just wanting some payback for you maybe breaking up with me, or maybe just having sex with me that one time and not wanting nothing else to do with me. It could be any reason. Do you understand what I'm saying? It could be any reason for someone to say something. I just feel like there needs to be.
Well, I mean, because every situation is so different.
It is.
I think that sometimes that's where the interpretation where we have to rely on the interpretation of the act.
Yeah, but it just makes it a lot difficult for those who really want to reach out and get help and get justice.
Why do you feel that it makes it difficult? Like if somebody lies about their situation, why does it make it more difficult for somebody else to come forward with this?
Because what that one person did in that lie is now create just a slither of a line for the next person to come through that really is going through that, for that person to say, the last person we had up in here lied about this, so we're saying you're not lying. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's how normally it goes.
Yeah.
When you're being questioned on something, it's like, okay, well, yeah, but we have 1 million people coming here every day say this. What makes your case so different?
So sexual assault is what this definition is a sexual act in which a person is coerced or physically forced to engage against their will or non-consensual sexual touching of a person. That is sexual assault.
Correct.
Okay, so that doesn't seem too broad. That seems pretty direct. I guess that we have to go where the gray area maybe is the coercion part.
Yes.
And so, because I think the physically forcing part, that's pretty much right there, I guess, I guess another area where it could be kind of fuzzy with the physically part is that, let's just say that something starts and then midway through you say no, you decide you change your mind.
Right. If
the guy continues, that's where the assault comes.
It's still classified as assault because I still said no and you still went against my will. So it's basically, if I tell you no and you go against my will, then that is sexual assault. But at the same token, it becomes a gray area because let's say if you take this to court. Okay, let's say if you press charges, you take this to court. One of the questions that is going to come up is, were you sexually aroused? And I think that question should never be asked, because even though your body may react a certain way, doesn't mean you yourself want that to be that way. Because I've heard guys say they were sexually assaulted and they were hard. It doesn't mean that they wanted it. It just means their body acted a certain way. And, again, that changes the dynamics of things. So I think that it is a case by case, but I just think that we should really look into it more and not just jump out there and fly out the handle, because it makes it hard for other people who have really done it to feel some type of way.
Yeah. So rape is, based on this definition, is a type of sexual assault involving sexual intercourse or other forms of sexual penetration carried out against a person without their consent. So this can be physical force, coercion, abuse of authority, or against a person who is incapable of giving valid consent, such as they're unconscious, incapacitated, intellectual disability, or below the legal age of consent.
Right.
So what's interesting is that before I read that definition, I think that a couple of cases that are in the news currently, I think that they try to lump that in that category. And prior to me reading that definition, I would say it didn't go in that category. But after I read that definition, some of the things could fall in that definition based on abuse of authority.
Right.
Because if the person is somebody high up on a totem pole, and they're using that as status
a way to coerce someone into doing something that they may not be comfortable with, they may not do on a normal, any other regular occurrence, then it becomes a problem.
I can see that. But the tricky part here is that after, like, let's say something happens, because the guilt always sets in with people afterwards.
Sometimes.
Usually. I mean, not with your boyfriend or girlfriend, but I'm just saying, just like a random situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has felt the guilt afterwards. Like, damn, I shouldn't even have did that. I could have did this. Why did I do that? Like that.
You would think some people.
But as men, as when our guilt sets in, because all of our guilt sets in, we don't think, you know, she took advantage of me, or you know, she, you know, we don't think
because because you've been conditioned to think there's no such thing as a male being sexually assaulted. You're somehow looked at as people laugh at a man if they have said that they have been sexually assaulted. It's a laughable thing. They don't take it as serious when it is serious, because it does happen.
Sure,
if a guy does not want
happens.
you and you still try, then that is assault.
So I guess without getting too deep,
Mm-hmm.
is this something that you've dealt with?
Yeah, it is.
As a young person or as an adult?
As an adult.
By somebody that you knew?
Not known in sense of you and I, but
so like a date rape?
No. This was just something I think the person just wanted to do.
You mean like you were walking down the street like a complete stranger?
I was walking. It was in a public place, but it happened. It happened in school.
Okay.
And so I just think it was just one of those things where, you know, he just wanted something that was off limits.
Gotcha.
Which happens a lot. You know, a lot of times people just want something that's off limits that they can't have.
Did you report this?
No.
Why not?
Thought it was my fault.
Because of what you had on?
Mm-hmm. And I only had sweatpants on. It wasn't nothing serious. It wasn't, you know, it was just me regular every day. I didn't dress up. I didn't do anything different. I didn't show any favor. I didn't show anything towards the person. It was just what that person wanted to do.
Did you ever see that person again?
Afterwards, for a while. But he stayed his distance and, you know, kind of respected.
That's an interesting choice of words.
I mean, I'm only being polite about it.
Sure.
Because, you know, like I said, I've put it, you know, I had to grow up and I had to forgive and I had to, for myself, you know what I mean? That's one thing people don't realize is the impact of it. Whether you are the person who's calling it or you are the person who is doing it, you don't understand or you don't get the full impact of what happens, because it doesn't just mess with your mind right then and there. It doesn't just mess with your choice of things that you choose to do or the way you do things from that point on. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't mess with one thing, it messes with a lot. So just have to just be cautious, and you know, and it's something that you can't play with either.
What do you mean?
No jokes.
Oh yeah.
You know, you can never ever make that type of joke, because the implications is just too strong. You know what I mean? You can't make a joke. You can't make a joke. You can't, because that implies that you can kind of condone something like that. And if you can condone something like that, what else would you go for?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. And
meaning, this is for you. We're talking about. I said Nene.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about you. No jokes, baby. That's why you sitting home missing some coins right now.
So you're referring to Nene Leakes?
Yes.
And the joke that she made to a heckler in the crowd, where she said that she hoped that the heckler's Uber driver raped her on her way home.
Yes.
So I mean,
you lost them Real Housewives checks. You were about to go on tour with Escape. You lost that. Yeah,
she was the host.
Or comedian or whatever.
Yeah, and she's going on as a comedian. So, you know, I mean,
it sucks, but
it's one of those things. I think she'll be able to recover from it, but it's one of those things.
She's going to have to do a lot of apologizing, and she's going to have to bring her attitude down.
Yeah,
because you know Nene has. Attitude.
Comedians. I mean, Kevin Hart has done rape jokes before.
Yeah, but
Are they picking on her because she's a lady? Because Kevin Hart has joked about himself being raped.
But again, it's
in the form of a joke.
I'm about to say, but see, it's a difference when you are talking about yourself in the manner of it's because when you disrespect yourself as a comedian, that's your job. You're disrespectful, and you're going to talk about things of that nature. We all going to talk about the things of that nature, but we have those incidents that happen every day where Uber drivers and cab drivers kill and rape, and because didn't we just have a big story about that not too long ago?
Yeah.
Where the Uber driver went on a killing spree. So stuff like that happens for real. So when you joke about real life situations, it turns iffy when you're not prepared to. And she's a new comedian too.
Yeah. So I think she's learning a valuable lesson. I'm gonna share something since you shared, I'm gonna share something that I have definitely not said on camera before. So when I was maybe 9 years old, and this didn't happen often that my parents went out, but they went out. We kind of stayed with another
relative or
family
house
that was close to them, somebody their age, and I think they all went out together. And they had an older child, and they had a boy my age, which is why we were there. And so we outside playing. So it was always fun playing in his house because it's kind of weird because they were allowed to play with sticks.
Oh,
and we couldn't play with sticks like that, right? So so I would like to go over there, and they just had it was fun just being in a different.
Not because they have cable.
No, they didn't have cable.
They got toys and we don't. But because
so outside, like boys, we used to want to sword fight and just do stuff like that. And I couldn't play like that with my sisters like that, and we didn't have no trees in my neighborhood like that. So there wasn't no abundance of sticks.
So you can't just go break a branch off.
No. There wasn't no trees like that in Baltimore Hilton. And so, so anyway, we would go over there, and so they had an older sibling. So I would say at the time I was, like I said, probably 9, 10 at the most. Mm-hmm. She was about 18 or 19. Okay. And she was supposed to be watching everybody. And I remember her exposing herself to me.
Okay.
And she touched me in a way that I found weird. Not like I didn't feel like I was assaulted, but it was definitely inappropriate.
You were, but
it was definitely inappropriate. And so I wanted to go back outside. Like I just came inside to go to the bathroom. I wanted to go back outside, and so. She tried to corner me in the room and keep me inside the room. And so after a while, but I didn't feel scared. I knew that this was not right.
Right.
But I didn't feel like I was in danger. I didn't feel like I was.
That's why.
But I knew that what she was proposing was not necessarily what should be done
at this moment.
Right.
Maybe later on in life.
Now, I wanted to go back outside more than I wanted to have sex with this girl. Because I didn't even know what having sex was because I was 9.
Right.
And so finally, it seemed like a long time, but it wasn't a long time, but it seemed like a long time. They were kind of like calling from me outside, like, "Hey, what's going on?" Right. Whatever. And then so that kind of broke everything up. And then I just kind of stayed away from her. And so I remember that I did not go back over there after that. And it was brought up before, like afterwards, but I just, just kind of just whatever. And coincidentally, this is not funny, but the boy, he ended up having to get a glass eye because his eye was with a stick. So I just want to say that. It's just really weird, poetic justice.
Parents, that's why. This is why. So this is for kids everywhere.
Don't play with
your
sticks.
Parents tell you not to do something, it's not because they want to just ruin your life and kill your joy. It's because they know without a doubt something terrible is going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
And the consequences is you missing an eye.
How about that? So let's go back and look at that situation. So in that situation, there was inappropriate touching.
Yes.
And she definitely propositioned me.
Yes.
She offering me anything, but
it was.
I guess
it was definitely.
That wasn't rape?
Yes, it was. It was.
How was that rape?
It was because number one, she definitely was an adult at 18 years old.
Yeah.
You were 9, 10 years old. You at no point, at no way could consent to anything that she
I didn't even understand what she was saying.
Exactly.
It was like she was like, because I didn't know what those words meant.
She was speaking.
What you mean? Come get some of this pussy. What does that mean?
Charlie Brown mother words to you. All you heard was want.
Yeah, it was Charlie Brown.
At your age, you were too young to consent to that type of
activity. I was like, so that's what Charlie Brown mother was talking about on the phone, because I didn't understand what the hell you saying.
So yes.
But you won't say it now.
Right.
So that was rape, though.
Yes, because you couldn't consent to it. You weren't legal age.
Well, we didn't have sex though.
You didn't. She touched you in an inappropriate way. She had no business putting her hands on. First of all, she ought to have been locked up, because that's a pedophile.
I didn't tell her.
I get that, but if she's 18 and she sees a 9, 10-year-old and thinks, let's get me some, miss, she ought to have been locked up. There's just no way to that.
I had good hair. I didn't have a shape up then either, because my hair was just like, it was just like there. It was just like, she was like, shape ups wasn't even out yet. Shape ups wasn't even out like that.
Apparently, whatever you was looking like was good enough for her. It still does not make it good.
I'm going to show you a picture from that time period.
But for us laughing at this, even though we're really not laughing
I don't feel
laughing at him telling the story, but
I wasn't. And here's the thing. It's not that I was scared or anything. I've been in situations where I was scared, and that wasn't it. You know what I mean?
I'm quite sure.
Yeah, that wasn't it. I mean, I've been,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like
this is around that time period. This is how I looked around that time period.
You had a fro.
That's what I'm saying. See, it's no shape up. It's
you
just
don't even
like,
have a forehead, really.
Like, right, it was just hair. It was right. You know, it's just a lot of hair.
It's like
it's kind of
all this is hair.
Yeah.
And his forehead is the eyebrows. It's not that bad.
I'm gonna tell you, I had this fear that my eyebrows were gonna just be, because I saw Albie Shore and I said, no, I don't want it. I remember telling my sister said, you know, when you become a man, an adult, you're just gonna have one eyebrow like Bert. And I'll be like, I'm just gonna cut a line in the middle. I don't care.
Oh, made you cry a little bit.
Yeah, it's all good. So I mean, I think that
it's just harder because you like again, in society that is not looked upon as rape. That's my son's got his stripes. He's got an older, woman. That's gonna be your cup of tea when you get older. Yeah. It's one of those things. Yeah. So again, it's definitely hard, but it still is what it is. It doesn't make it any less what it was. It's going to be the double standard. That's all.
Yeah. And so what is that line, though? That line of you're in the middle of something and you change your mind.
Anybody's allowed to change their mind. Like, that's the thing about that people don't understand. I'm allowed to say no.
But what about the people that
allowed to change my mind?
I agree with that.
I'm allowed to feel uncomfortable about a situation.
But here's what you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to change your mind after you did it. Now, so let's say this. So let's say that you have the encounter, right?
Right.
Now, afterwards, I treat you like shit, right?
Right.
Now you're questioning the whole encounter. You already was kind of like, he ain't shit, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Okay, but that was your fault in the first place because you had that feeling.
Those are the ones that bother me because after the fact, now you're saying
it's rape.
And then 10 years later, let's just say the same person now has notoriety, now has fame, and and maybe he legitimately did rape some girls, right?
Right.
Now you jump on the bandwagon because you felt like he cast you aside afterwards. Is that rape?
No, it's not. But
so again, when does the line that you can change your mind and
But
still call it rape.
But again, that's why I said maybe the laws need to be redefined in such a way to add amendments that say, okay, well, you know, in the commission, because you know how it's the same thing in law. Okay, in the commission of a burglary and someone dies, now it's upgraded to first degree or second degree or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it should be the same way. Okay, well, you know, if this happens, if we're in the middle of this and then this happened, then now you can't just say, okay, it's rape. Do you understand what I mean? That's what I mean.
Okay.
Maybe things need to be regulated.
So if you come, then it's not rape?
No.
Where could the line be?
Again, the reason why I say that is because chemistry works differently. Our bodies chemically are predisposed to know that this feeling may be a good feeling. Just because it may be a good feeling doesn't mean that I want that feeling right this second. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you there, but I guess what I'm about is
afterwards, if I'm feeling it. Listen, people, we have to take rejection. That's what it is. Yeah. It's rejection.
Sure, but
that's what it boils down to. If you cannot take rejection, don't step yourself out that door for rejection.
But here, and this is, so listen to this scenario. We're involved in an act. Mm-hmm. Maybe, okay, you hesitate in your mind, but you don't hesitate out the mouth, right? We start. Maybe a minute into it. We've already started intercourse. No, I can't do this. I can't do this. And you want to stop me, right? And I'm in my mind, I can't process whether this is the real stop or this is the fake stop.
But see, that's the problem. That's the problem. It ain't for you to judge whether I'm saying fake stop or not or real stop. If I say stop more than once and I really mean stop. It's nothing wrong with stopping.
And if he continues,
then it's an issue.
Then this consensual sex now becomes rape.
Exactly. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because again,
and I don't think a lot of guys process that.
Well, you have to, because you can't control every situation. Every woman really does not want every man, just like every man does not want every woman.
That's true.
I can't go into a situation assuming that I'm gonna get laid today, whether I'm a female or male. I can't do that. People have a right to say no. People have a right to change their mind. People have a right to feel uncomfortable and want to change to be comfortable. If you are not ready to perceive that and you cannot perceive that, then you need to be around people who act and think and feel the same way as you, who are willing to say no but still go on because you want to go on. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the problem. Just because you want to go on doesn't mean you have to make me feel like I'm obligated to make you come. A dinner and a movie does not make me feel like I need to open my legs to you, and vice versa. Just because you pay for a dinner and a movie does not give you the right to say this dinner and the movie coming with this whether you want it or not. Because if that's the case, then you need to let me know up front so that I can make that decision to either stay or go.
So that's good, and I wanted to really push back on some of those points because I think that the real key to this whole thing is consent,
and it's communication, and it's being able to handle rejection.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit about consent. So consent is the affirmation of. It's an approval, an informed approval, indicating freely given consent. Freely given.
Same as if I was to put my John Hancock on a piece of paper that says I consent. Is the same way you open your mouth and you say consent.
Right.
You can void it out. You can take it back.
Now here's where it's tricky though. It's not necessarily expressed verbally.
No.
Okay. It may not be said, yes, I consent. Yes, you can have this. Like you may not say that, but it is something that is overtly implied by your actions.
Yes.
You're giving off the action, and you're giving off
the vibe
that you want to have sex with this person.
Yes.
Right? Now, here's another tricky part for a lot of guys. Here's the tricky part. The absence of verbal objection does not constitute consent.
Exactly.
Just because she didn't say something doesn't mean that she is agreeing to this activity.
Exactly. Because what you have to realize is men can be intimidating.
Correct.
Just as much as men say women can be intimidating.
But this is a different type of intimidation.
It is,
this
but
is like
it's
a physical intimidation.
But that's what I'm saying. Like some men physically are intimidated by certain women, but majority of the time, men are physically imposing to women.
Yeah.
So if you get on top of me and you're kind of forcing me, either I'm going to just go ahead and fight back, or I'm going to kind of like, no, I'm not really, for this, and like kind of like, nah.
Yeah, it's not as aggressive. So something interesting happened. So I want to talk about this. We were coming in here earlier, and we were bringing in some supplies for the studio, and a guy kind of walked up and tried to help with the stuff. We didn't know him. Right. He just kind of walked up.
Right.
And so now that we're having this conversation, and I'm thinking, what if you girls were here and I wasn't here? That could have been a potentially dangerous situation for y'all.
Yeah.
But me being a guy, instantly our exchange was different than y'all exchange were. But so it's just, so that's how the intimidation thing. So something could have, been, and I'm sure that happens to women a lot.
And listen, I'm trying to be as biased as possible in my answers. That's why I'm saying both men and women, because I want people to understand that this can happen to both men and women. This does happen to both men and women. It's not just a woman thing, and it's not just a man thing. It's a whole person thing.
Yeah.
Because anybody can choose to say anything. I've heard women say, I'd rape him. I've heard men say I'd rape her. I've heard,
You mean but they don't technically mean
no,
that,
not. But if you see, say if you see your favorite
like
celebrity or somebody like that, you might be like, I'll rape them, or you know what I mean? Like, it happens.
It's kind of weird, but yeah.
It happens. People say it every day. You know, people use those things again, and that's the reason why I think talking about it makes a difference, because we're so accustomed to being brutal in our everyday life, especially living in Baltimore. We got to be brutal. We got to talk brutal. We got to think brutal. We got to say brutal things every day. And so when something brutal happens, we do not necessarily look at it as a brutal thing the same way somebody else does. And so now I just think as we get adults and as we grow, we do just need to be mindful. Just point blank period. Just be mindful.
Right. Duress. You know what duress is?
Yes.
So, and this kind of gets to where we're talking about, where a situation where a person is threatened by force or threatened by violence, and that may be the result of the objection to the sexual activity,
or feels as though there's no way out of this situation unless.
So they won't say anything because of the duress,
right?
And then the perpetrator will assume that this was a consent, or will try to act like this was consensual, because she or he did not say anything, but they were under duress.
Right.
So that, that's different. That's a different scenario, but it can lead to the presumption of consent. But here's the thing: you may not be threatening them with force. You just may be intimidating to them, and they will be. And I think that a lot of times that happens.
Yeah, like for example, if it was like say if we're somewhere and you press me against the corner of a wall,
right?
I may very well feel intimidated by that. I may very well feel threatened by that. I may very well feel uncomfortable to the point where I may be passive enough to allow you to believe that this is something that could possibly happen for fear of my safety. Do you understand what I'm saying? People do things for fear of them safeties. So if you come at me with a gun, I might tell you anything because I want to live at the end of the day. Right. I might let you do whatever you feel like you got to do because I'm trying to live at the end of the day. And so it's just a human thing. Like I said, we just have to be.
So the last part I want to cover on is marital rape and statutory rape. So I want to do them separately. So marital rape or spousal rape, or if you're in a relationship, preferably a marriage, can a husband rape his wife?
Yes. Listen, I don't care what you label it. I don't care what spin you put on it. If I say no and you still are forcing the yes, it is not consensual. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't care that you say, because this is the presumption that once you put a ring on my finger, I'm your property, and I have to say it, that I have to do whatever you want me to do, speak however you want me to speak, be however you want me to be. No, just because you put a ring on my finger does not mean you own the rights to my person. If I don't want it,
debatable certain
countries and customs, I get that. It is. I really do.
But no does mean no.
No,
even if that's your wife.
Mean no. I don't care whether we are married. I don't care whether we've been together for 55 years. Right. If I come home and I say no. Right. You don't have a right to it because it's there. I don't care. It's almost roll over and act like you sleep and I just need the bottom half of you. If the top half of me is saying no, that goes for the bottom half of me. Again, it's about rejection. Yeah. Be able to handle no for one moment. Especially if you're getting it every other time you ask for it. And I say no this one time, that still doesn't give you the right to take it.
Right. I agree with that. So in the instance where the person is underage and the other person is of age, right? They, even if they give you verbal consent, are not legally able to give that consent, and therefore it will be statutory rape. So say somebody is 25 and they're dealing with some, for whatever crazy reason, they end up having sex with some 15-year-old.
It happens.
Or 14-year-old.
It happens.
That would be statutory rape, even though she may have consented to it.
Yes, because again, first of all, you have to realize something. A child who is under the age of 18 has not yet fully developed. So as an adult, you are potentially hindering that child from developing in the natural way that they ought to develop had you not came and done the trauma that you've done to that child's body. That's number one. Number two, as a grown up, you shouldn't be thinking about dealing with somebody that young anyway, because what do they have to offer you? You can't go to the bar with me. You can't spend the night with me because I got to ask your parents if it's okay. You can't come out with me on a weekday because you got school in the morning. It's just things that I'm thinking about personally as an adult. Do you understand what I'm saying? At 35 years old, I have a problem messing with somebody who's 18 because your parents can still come after me regardless whether you're 18 or not. Your parents can still have a problem with that because I am of a certain age. Do you understand what I'm saying? Again, if I want to go out to the bar.
The age of consent, I think that the age of consent in Maryland would probably surprise you.
And no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You want to know why? Because
why is that?
We have a history of messed up rules, laws, regulations, and such in Maryland. So the consent age does not surprise.
So the age of consent. Okay, so like most states, there are some situations in Maryland where people under the age of consent may legally have sex.
Yes.
Okay. As long as there is a small age difference between them.
Right.
In Maryland, persons aged between the ages of 14 and 16 may consent to sex as long as the other partner is not more than 4 years older.
I still think 15. But listen, let's be real. At 15 years old, most of us probably knew what intercourse is, having it.
But here, so that in that scenario, they're saying if the person is 16, they could have sex with someone who's 20, and it not be they could be consent. I get it. They're not 21,
right? I get that.
So they're still technically a child.
I get that.
But it's really, really.
That's another touchy situation.
Very touchy, but
because you have parents out here who are not parents and who could care less, not parenting, and who could care less if their child come home. They probably would love for their child to come home.
16-year-old should be having sex with some,
it doesn't mean it.
30-year-old.
It doesn't make it correct. And I do get that, we have cougars out in this world, and we have people who
sure do
who like older or who like younger.
Have you dated older men historically? No. What was I thinking?
It always has been my age, or maybe a little younger.
A little younger. So you haven't dated older.
No.
What's the oldest guy you dated?
My age.
Oh, that's not old at all. Okay.
I mean, because you have to look at something. You have to realize something.
Okay, let me ask the question differently. What's the oldest guy you've been with?
My age.
Same thing. Women only count their boyfriends. Okay, I got you.
I'm so serious. I've never dated someone that was older than me by enough for them for it to be an issue. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if I was in my 30s, I dealt with someone who was old, right? You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
But I can't go, 18.
Okay.
And because I just really have an issue, especially because I have a niece that's that age, and I'm just like, if I pick a boyfriend that's 18, my niece is liable to still be in school with him. So
I tell you something funny, and I tell you something also that I've not said on camera before. So the oldest person who I've ever been with, I will say this, was about I'm just roundabout.
Hypothetically,
not hypothetically. Okay. This is factual.
Round to the next 5. Round to the 5 or the 10.
I'm gonna be within 1 or 2 years off.
Okay.
Was approximately.
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll. 22 years older than me.
Oh, you were dating a senior.
No. I didn't say that. I didn't say dating. I didn't say dating.
Oh, you were talking to
No.
Oh, you just went there.
Yeah, I just went there.
Went there with someone who was that old.
Because
you wanted to see how it felt.
So this was a while ago. This ain't recent. This ain't recent.
So 22 years ago or 22 years?
She was 22 years older than I was at that time.
Okay, so at that time, what was your age?
At that time, I was in my early 30s.
So you were dating a senior citizen, like I said.
We weren't dating.
He was going to Denny's on a senior discount.
So I have a list, I have a list of things, like a bucket list of things that I want to cross off the list.
She took her dentures out.
No, she didn't have dentures. No, she was fly though. She was fly though. She was fly though. She was fly. She was cool.
Listen, I hope to be fly when I'm 60. I'm just saying. It's just
she wasn't 60.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
53.
Okay.
In 2 months.
Yeah. So no. Yeah.
53 in 9 months.
No.
It's in 12 months. That means the birthday.
Okay, I was 31.
So that means he was dating somebody that was 60.
So anyway,
I've been coming through on the clutch lately. Y'all just call me Clutch Reefer. I'm trying to tell you, I come through on the clutch.
So she was cool.
But you know what? I will tell you this. I will give you this. This was some years ago. that I did, however, have me a young one.
You're stuttering.
2 weeks
Ago?
before his 18th birthday.
Wait, what?
2 weeks before his
You know what that's
18th
called?
birthday.
17. AKA 17. How much older were you than him?
I was in my 20s.
Okay, so he's like 29.
No, it was before 29.
Who was president? Was Obama president?
Just know.
Obama was president.
It wasn't Obama.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Just know that but listen, I feel like it also
Y'all
depends.
dated or you just had an encounter or two?
I feel like it depends on the situation as well, because sometimes you never know who you bussing when you bust them, but the
lights was out. It was out the closet door action.
No, it was regular. It wasn't
Once
sneaking
again,
or
I'm
nothing
saying,
like that.
were y'all in a relationship or y'all was just having sex? Okay, a relationship. So like
No.
you took him to drop him off at high school, like what?
He wasn't in high school.
Oh, he dropped out. Okay.
No, he didn't drop.
He graduated.
Yes. Why would I like people.
Oh, this is a
I like
graduation
smart
gift.
people.
This was a graduation gift.
It wasn't a graduation gift.
I mean, I graduated at 17, but most people graduate at 18.
I get that. Some people graduate at 17.
So he was one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to him.
So he was
All
a
right.
graduate at least.
Shout him out. The National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-4673. So we talked about something serious, but we were able to round it off on a more
we just
lighter
listen,
note.
The thing about it is, you guys, we just want people to understand that yes, things happen in this world, very terrible things. Yes, people have different mind states every time things like this happen.
Yes.
But what we want people to realize is no means no. I don't know who created that yes means no, no means yeah. I don't know who created that crap. That's just something to blur the lines, but don't be discredited if the person is saying no, let it go, because there's too many people out here that are willing to say yes versus those that are willing to say no.
Yes, that's well said. Well said. All right, so we will be back next week?
Yes.
Next week? Yes. You're saying yes. Do you mean yes?
Yes, I do mean yes.
And this yes means yes.
Yes, we will be back because I'm trying. Listen, I'm trying to be a part of something great here.
Good.
You know what I mean? I know the awards is coming up soon.
It's I'm glad that you segued into that. So the Baltimore Music Awards goes down
Yes.
December 5th.
Yes.
Let your voice be heard at the 2017 Baltimore Music Awards. Polls are now open for this 7th annual red carpet event honoring Baltimore. Log on to BaltimoreMusicAwards.com and click the vote.
Yes.
Vote it says vote.
Vote.
Click that.
Yes.
Before December 3rd to let your
voices, your vote.
Yeah.
Votes.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all, this is the chance to actually be productive and start with voting in the right way. So vote for
It's a good way to start.
It's a good way to start into the
in
the getting in the spirit of things, and hopefully you'll catch me next year. Right?
Catch you? Well, you're gonna be there this year.
Yeah, I am gonna be there this year, but I mean like nominated and all.
Oh, okay.
That
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. So we're gonna give away an award.
Yes.
But we'll talk about it. Got plenty
Be
of time.
there.
Be there. Be there. To do that. Where'd that come from?
And I'm the one, right?